Well, if you're just joining us this morning, there is some more breaking news out of the US, where authorities have confirmed there are no survivors of a major plane disaster in the nation's capital. We've got some live pictures for you of the crash scene there on the Potomac River in Washington, D.C. Well, for more, let's go straight to our reporter, Barbara Miller, who is on the scene for us this morning. Barbara, in the past hour or so, we've heard from the National Transportation Safety Board. What did they have to say?
Well, the NTSB wouldn't speculate on any possible cause yet of this collision between the Black Hawk helicopter and that passenger jet coming in from Kansas. They said they will release a preliminary report within 30 days. They did reveal that they haven't yet recovered the data recorders from either of the two flights, the military helicopter or the passenger jet, but they were hopeful that they would be able to retrieve those recorders. That operation, both the recovery of victims, and as you say, it is now a recovery operation. All 64 passengers and crew on the flight from Kansas, as well as the 3 military personnel on the Black Hawk, are now presumed dead. So the operation to recover the remaining victims, as well as the data recorders and any other information, of course, that will feed in to the investigation, is ongoing in the Potomac River behind me. The airport here, meanwhile, has reopened and is pretty busy with planes coming in and taking off here. But the chair of the National Transportation Safety Board said that no stone will be left unturned in their investigation.
As part of any investigation, we look at the human, the machine, and the environment. So we will look at all the humans that were involved in this accident. Again, we will look at the aircraft, we will look at the helicopter, we will look at the environment in which they were operating in.
And as we go to air this morning, the US President Donald Trump is speaking live on a different topic, but if he has anything to add on this crash, we will bring it to you immediately. Let's go back to Barbara. The President has also assigned blame fairly early on in this process.
Yeah, very different approach to the one that the NTSB is taking, who said it was far too early to talk about blame or possible or probable causes. But Donald Trump, after expressing his condolences to the victim, really threw out blame in a wide variety of directions, suggesting that air traffic controllers perhaps gave a warning to the helicopter a little bit too late, but also saying that the people in the helicopter should have been able to see. He said these people would have 20/20 vision. And his most controversial comments, I think, James, the ones where he appeared to blame the hiring policies of the previous administration for this crash, saying that policies and programs which have encouraged diversity, equity and inclusion, including people with disabilities in the workplace, may have been to blame here. Let's just hear a little bit of the President when asked why he was so confident in issuing these comments so soon after the disaster.
Because I have common sense, okay? And unfortunately, a lot of people don't. We want brilliant people doing this. This is a major chess game at the highest level. When you have 60 planes coming in during a short period of time, and they're all coming in different directions, and you're dealing with very high-level computer work.
And those comments have been met with derision from some senior Democrats who've condemned them. We should, James, also remember that the victims, of course, of this crash, and they are beginning to be named now. We know, for example, that a group of competitive figure skaters are among the victims. They'd been in Kansas competing in the national championships, and some of them had been taking part in a development camp off the back of that. And we know, for example, that a couple of teenage skaters, their moms who were traveling with them, and a couple of well-regarded and well-experienced coaches are among the almost 70 people known to have died in the Potomac River here behind me in this tragedy.
It's a very sad day in Washington. Barbara Miller, thank you.
Back home, questions are being raised about what changes could be made to ensure children and staff are safe as they return to school today after a spate of anti-Semitic attacks. Our reporter Miles Holbrook-Walk is at Jewish school Mount Sinai College, where one of the latest attacks happened. Miles, good morning. So can you sort of describe what the mood is like there? Because obviously these were really worrying incidents that have happened. How are people feeling?
Emma, there is a definite feeling of tension in the community right now, and that is felt for many reasons. But of course, the idea that a school where children attended and attend indeed today, as you can probably see just over my shoulders, they're rolling in for one of their first days of school for the year. It's one of those instances that we have a situation where the community really is outraged that they would be exposed to anti-Semitic and quite offensive graffiti. Now, that's been painted over and schools in full operation. We have a lot of security guards here. I've counted at least 4. Some of them are armed with firearms, for example. But it is worth noting as well here, Emma, that that's not the only security that may be extended to schools and indeed synagogues around Sydney after a spate of anti-Semitic incidents, particularly in the month of January this year. And so what is also being considered, we've heard from Mayor Dylan Parker, he's the Mayor of Randwick and deals with this local community too, is about the provision of additional funding for extra security, whether that could be after hours too, which is when the majority of these anti-Semitic graffiti attacks have occurred. They've been after hours, very late in the night. But there is, of course, already a police operation, Operation Shelter, that also patrols at-risk sites. Now, it is worth noting today we haven't seen any police on site here doing those patrols, but again, much of their work is in the evening at sites when they are considered to be more at risk of being defaced or attacked. Emma?
Miles, speaking of police, this isn't the only thing they're investigating in Sydney right now. There's also that major investigation into a caravan with explosives, and that was discovered early this month in Sydney's northwest. What can you tell us about that? What's the latest?
So far, Emma, we've now starting to learn a bit more about some of the people who are already in custody and alleged to have been named on a search warrant in relation to that caravan. They are Scott Marshall and Tammy Farrugia. Both of them are in custody on separate, unrelated charges, and it is worth noting no one has been charged over the discovery of that caravan, which police say has explosives inside, as well as a list of Jewish sites was also discovered in that caravan in the northwest of Sydney. Investigations very much continuing with a significant amount of resources, more than 100 officers and indeed intelligence personnel as well from institutions like the New South Wales Police, the Australian Federal Police, ASIO, as well as the New South Wales Crime Commission too, all of which are trying to chase eminent leads, among them the source of the explosives, how such a significant quantity ended up in that caravan, and indeed if they were from a mine site as suspected by police. It is worth noting many mine sites in New South Wales don't use that type of explosive these days and haven't for some time, including some of the companies that once sold this product no longer manufacture it either. So that is but one line of inquiry. There is a serious appetite to see arrests and charges, not only from those within the community, but also in the leadership of New South Wales with Chris Minns, the Premier. He says that police are being backed in here to do their job and hopes that the people responsible will be arrested and charged.
Miles, thanks for the update.
Let's get some more news now. And 2 men have been granted compensation by the federal government's National Redress Scheme for abuse by the late Cardinal George Pell. The scheme has accepted that one of them was raped by Pell when the late Cardinal was a young priest in Ballarat in the 1970s. The boys were 8 and 9 when the abuse they describe in their claims took place, but they did not know each other and went to different schools. Louise Milligan joined us last hour for more on this story.
Victorian firefighting crews have managed to reduce the threat of several major bushfires in the state's west. Waterbombing aircraft have been flying overnight to stop 2 large fires in the Grampians National Park from merging into a major blaze. Fire authorities say the bushfires burning at Little Desert National Park and the Grampians National Park are not yet under control, but crews have managed to stop the spread and they're working to strengthen containment lines.
A decline in GP bulk billing is affecting some of the most vulnerable people in Australia, with the peak body for doctors warning it's having a dire effect in places like the Northern Territory. Data shows bulk billing rates slid 10% in the NT. That is the steepest decline of any state or territory. The Australian Medical Association says the lack of affordable options means people are avoiding regular checkups, leading to longer stays in hospital and pressure on overburdened emergency departments.
Coalition frontbencher Jacinta Nampijinpa-Price is vowing to stop federal funding for Indigenous Welcome to Country ceremonies if her party wins government. It comes after opposition leader Peter Dutton handed her the Shadow Ministry for Government Efficiency, a role similar to one US President Donald Trump handed to tech billionaire Elon Musk. Senator Price is promising to audit Indigenous agencies and redirect Welcome to Country funds.
A woman remains in hospital as New South Wales health authorities investigate a number of recent cases of suspected botulism caused by unregulated anti-wrinkle injections. Botulism is a serious illness caused by an injected toxin that can lead to nerve damage and is fatal in rare cases. The ABC has confirmed another suspected case of botulism linked to cosmetic injections in Victoria last year. It follows the hospitalisation of 3 women with suspected botulism who received anti-wrinkle injections at a Western Sydney home.